the issues that we have occurred in recurrent neural network. To overcome these issues, some variations of the recurrent neural networks were developed. Talking about the first one, that is LSTM. L stands for long, S stands for short. Long short-term memory. So LSTM, it is a kind of neural network only. It stands for long short-term memory network, which are basically we are using in the field of deep learning. So it is a type of recurrent neural network only that are capable of learning the long-term dependencies, especially when we are achieving these sequence prediction problems. LSTM, it has feedback connections likewise we have in RNN. That is, it is capable of processing the entire sequence of data apart from the single data points like the images. So, the main difference between the structures that comprises of RNN and the structure of LSTM, the main difference can be seen from the fact that the hidden layer of LSTM, it is a gated unit, or we can call it is a cell. Basically, our LSTM, it has 4 layers that work with each other to create the output of the cell as well as for the cell state. So, both of these, they are transferred to the next layer. So, basically LSTM, it is comprised of 3 sigmoid gates. We have here basically 4 gated cells, out of which 3 are the logistic sigmoid gates and 1 is a 10H layer that we have. So, the gates are added to restrict the information that goes through the cell. So, the basic difference in the structure of LSTM and RNN is, first of all, RNN is having the feedback paths. In the same way, we have in the LSTM the feedback paths. Now, talking about the structural difference between these two, here we have the 4 layers that work with each other to create the output of the cell. Basically, we have the hidden layers of LSTM where we have the gated units, or we can call them the cell. So, LSTM, these are basically comprised of 3 logistic sigmoid gates and a 10H layer. So, here the gates are added to restrict the information that goes through the cells. So, that is a structural difference between our LSTM and our recurrent neural network. So, basically LSTM, that is long short-term memory. It is a variety of RNN only, and it is capable of learning the long-term dependencies. If we talk about the sequence prediction problem, it can be used there. It is also having the feedback connections likewise we have in RNN, but the difference between the structure of RNN and LSTM, it is that the hidden layer of LSTM, it is a gated unit. Basically, it has 4 layers that work with each other to create the output. All these layers, they transfer the data from one part to the another part. So, basically, it comprises of 3 logistic sigmoid gates and 1 10H layer. 3 sigmoid gates are there and 1 10H layer is there. So, these gates are added into the structure of LSTM. Why? To restrict the information that goes through the cell. In LSTM also, we have certain drawbacks. These LSTM, they became popular due to the fact that they solve the issues of gradient descent problems that were occurring in the recurrent neural network. We understood that in a recurrent neural network, there were 2 gradient problems that were occurring, vanishing gradient problem and the exploding gradient problems. So, these LSTM, they were developed to solve the issues of gradients that were disappearing. However, they are unable to eliminate the problem. They do solve them, but they do not eliminate the gradient problems. where does the issue lie? The issue lies in that data. That data needs to be moved between the cells for its analysis, because the data has to be moved between the cells, so the problem of gradient that was occurring, it does not get eliminated. Second drawback of using LSTM is that they require lots of time and resources to be trained, and to prepare them for the real world applications that we're using, like natural language processing and maybe for speech recognition. So if we want to train these kind of network for a real world application, so they do require a lot of time and lot of resources. With the growing technology of data, our data mining scientists, they are searching for a system that is capable to store the past data for more extended time period than our LSTM. Because nowadays we have lots of data traveling via the internet. So our data mining scientists who are working on processing of all this data, they want such a system which is able to store the data for more extended periods than our LSTM stores. So that is another drawback here that we face in our long short-term memory neural networks. Then next one, LSTM. They are affected by various random weights and they behave similarly to the neural network like we have in feed-forward, because they are affected by various random weights. So they somehow at some point of time they do behave like the feed-forward neural network only. LSTM, they tend to overfit and it can be challenging to implement the dropout to stop this kind of problems. So these are the few major drawbacks that our LSTM has. Our LSTM, basically it was developed to solve the issues of gradient, but it definitely does not eliminate this problem. So that is one drawback. Second, to train our LSTM for the real world application, we require a lot of time and lot of resources. So that is the second drawback. Now, our data scientists today, they require our system which can store the data for an extended period of time. But our LSTM, it stores the data for lesser time. So that is another drawback that we have in our LSTM. Then LSTM, they are affected by various random weights, and in that case they behave similar to our feed-forward neural network. And they tend to overfit. So it can be challenging to implement the dropout to stop this kind of problems. So these are the few major drawbacks of our long short-term memory. So to solve the vanishing exploding gradient problems that was often encountered during the operation of our basic recurrent neural network, so for that many variations were developed, because we understood that recurrent neural network is an important part of our deep learning system. In this we are having the feedback paths, but the issues that we are facing in our recurrent neural network is of vanishing gradient and exploding gradient. So to solve these two issues, we have developed first of all LSTM, and one of the lesser known but equally effective variation of RNN is GRU, that is the gated recurrent unit network. Unlike LSTM, it consists of only 2 gates and it does not maintain the internal cell state. The information which is stored in the internal cell states in the LSTM, it is incorporated into the hidden state of GRU. Then this collective information, it is passed on to the next gated recurrent unit. So GRU is what? It is the variation for recurrent neural network only. Why was this developed? To eliminate the problem of vanishing gradient and exploding gradient. The difference between LSTM and GRU, the difference is our GRU, it consists of only 2 gates and it does not maintain the internal cell state. So the information which is stored in the internal cell state in LSTM recurrent unit, it is incorporated into the internal cell state in the LSTM recurrent unit, and basically it is incorporated into the hidden layer of our GRU. Now, this collective information, it is passed on to the next gated recurrent unit. So that is how our GRU, it functions. Basically, to solve the problem that is faced by our standard recurrent neural network, our GRU, it incorporates two gates. Basically, we have 2 gates. One is the update gate and second is the reset gate. Update gate. The update gate, it is responsible for determining the amount of previous information that needs to pass through along the next state. So what is this update gate doing for us? It is responsible for determining the amount of previous information that needs to pass along the next gate. This is gate, update gate. It is really powerful because the model, it can decide to copy all the information from the past and eliminate the risk of vanishing gradient. So this, our update gate, it solves the issues of vanishing gradient. How? Because in GRU, we have this update gate. It is responsible for determining exactly that what amount of previous information needs to pass along the next state. This is powerful because this model can decide to copy all the information from the past and eliminate the risk of vanishing gradient. The second gate that we have in our GRU, that is the reset gate. This reset gate, it is used from the model to determine how much of the past information is needed to neglect. So in short, it decides whether the previous cell state is important or not. So that is why the name given to it is reset gate. It decides that how much of the past information is needed to neglect. So it decides whether the previous cell state, it is important or it can be neglected. So these are the 2 important gates that we are using in our gated recurrent unit network GRU, which is the variation of RNN only. The first gate is the update gate and the second gate is the reset gate. Talking about the difference between GRU and LSTM. These 2 networks, they are basically developed as a variation of RNN only, but there are few differences in these 2 types of network. First, we have understood that GRU has 2 gates, the output gate, the update gate and the reset gate. While LSTM, we talked about that LSTM has 3 logistic sigmoid gates. GRU, it does not possess any internal memory. They do not have an output gate that is present in our LSTM. So in LSTM, we do have an output gate, but in GRU, it does not possess any internal memory and they even do not have the output gate that are present in our long short-term memory. In LSTM, the input gate and the target gate, they are coupled by an update gate, and in GRU, reset gate is applied directly to the previous hidden state. So, in LSTM, the responsibility of the reset gate, it is taken by 2 gates. One is the input and another is the target. So, in GRU, we have these 2 gates, reset gate and the update gate. But in LSTM, the responsibility of this reset gate, whatever reset gate does in GRU, this responsibility is taken by the input as well as the target gate itself. From the working of both the layers, that is LSTM and GRU. GRU uses less training parameter and so GRU uses less memory. And since it is using less memory, it takes lesser time to process the data and it executes faster than LSTM. Whereas if we talk about LSTM is more accurate on a larger data set. So if we have to choose between LSTM and GRU, that which network we should use for our application. So if you are dealing with large sequences and accuracy is concerned, so in that case you should use LSTM. GRU, it is used when you have lesser memory consumption and you want the results faster. In that case, GRU should be used. So these are both the variations of recurrent neural network. In both of these, we do have the feedback paths. So now it depends on you that which network do you want to use, and this will depend on the kind of application that you're applying these network to. So LSTM, it is used if you're dealing with large sequences of data and you want the accurate result. In that case, you should use LSTM. GRU, it should be used when you have less memory consumption and you want the results faster. In that case, you can use a gated recurrent unit. This was about our recurrent neural network and two variations of that was LSTM and GRU.